Hello, this is National Chess Master R. Rats. I'm here at chess.com. I'm analyzing a game submitted by Maarten Smit, and his opponent's name I can't decipher. This is how it appeared on the original PGN he gave to me. It was played just the other day, July 27th in the Czech Open, so we've got a little over-the-board tournament actions instead of an online game. So this should be kind of interesting to see how this all unfolds. Now, Maarten was kind. He gave a lot of notes to his game, and I didn't look at him, and the reason is I don't want to be prejudiced by what he sees and what I see, and I just want to give him an independent thing, because maybe I'll miss something he pointed out, or vice versa. I don't want to be influenced by his notes, and if I have a chance, I'll look at him later. And of course, I invite everybody here to make comments about his game. Now we have the Scandinavian defense, and also on the subject, I talk about various things on my videos, like my Facebook page or my Twitter, and people are saying, well, I can't find it. Well, all this stuff's on my website, and my website's linked right here in the YouTube video in the description. It's on my chess.com profile. There's a links page. It's just full of all sorts of useful links, different chess sites, everything you want, it's all there. Okay. Now, I don't really know the theory of the center counter, or that's what I grew up not calling it. It's actually more properly called the Scandinavian. But I want to make a comment here with this move, bishop f5. Now, back in the 1980s, there was a U.S. correspondence champion by the name of David Taylor that won the correspondence championship playing this line, bishop f5. And I didn't play in that event. I've never played him. I'm not even sure if I ever even played over his games, but I read the articles about him, and a very strong player. And I don't know what the game scores look like. How could he win almost every game at top-level U.S. chess with this opening? Well, if you're going to play this opening, try to find it. His name's David Taylor. They were played in the one of the U.S. championships back in the 1980s. So good hunting. Okay. All right. So I really don't know theory on it at all. I know that if Black plays well, he's plays carefully, he gets some good play here. Now this is similar, the Scandinavia is similar in some respects to the exchange variation of the Ncd5 defense that I play. E4, knight c6, d4, d5, and then e takes d5, queen takes d5. There's some similarities, and there's also some differences. But if you're comfortable playing the black side of a Scandinavian, you should be comfortable playing the black side of an exchange Ncd5. And I have my series on the Ncd5. That's on my YouTube channel. It's here, and there's a thread here at chess.com about it. I haven't updated it. I've posted a new video the other day, and I haven't had time to put it on. So the smart people are seeing it because they get Twitter updates or Facebook updates or YouTube updates. And, I'm busy making a lot of videos, and the stuff's there. Just got to find it. All right, so back to this game. Both sides are getting their development accomplished, and this is one thing I like to see when both sides are doing this, because so often one side neglects development and goes after some little fantasy line or tries to grab a pawn they shouldn't, and just lags behind in development, and their whole game just rapidly falls apart as a result. So good things happen when you get your pieces out, and this is a well fought game. I thought the strength of the players was higher than that given on the Elo rating. He's pulling my leg. He's really higher. Okay. So just going through the moves, I think I did check this on a database. Nd5 was a new move, at least on my database, and so we're out of theory, but it makes perfectly logical sense. Again, both sides have got their pieces developed, but Black has retreated his queen, so it's now undeveloped. So White probably has a very slight plus at this point, simply because his queen is developed and the Black queen is undeveloped, and it was out earlier. But it's difficult to often do things with it. Now, I'm not sure if this is the right time to do something like this. Let me try to explain by c5. Okay. When you're behind in development, you usually don't want to open up the position, because the better developed side will seize the new open lines that arise. Okay, now Black's only down a half a tempo. He can't really put his queen anywhere. Okay, but he's got to find a place for that queen. What's probably makes more sense at this point for black is to play knight from b to d5, and the idea behind that is it has a tempo on the bishop. Does white want to keep the bishop and spend a move by dropping it back to g3 or putting it on g5, or will white just develop a piece, say rook ad1, and let black take it? It's a good move to let white dictate what he's going to do next. The point of it is it vacates b6 for the queen. That's the whole point of it, so that queen can get redeveloped, and we can get a rook on d8. But white's well placed. He shouldn't have to worry about it. But it does put the question to that bishop, and what's white going to do? Surrender the bishop pair or try to keep them? Anyway, and I know in a Caro-Kann a lot of times white will end up with a knight on e5, and black will have one on d5, and white's knight just a wee bit better than black's knight, although both knights are excellent. The white knight's a little better because it's on the 5th rank. And again, that's just basically the advantage of the first move. Black doesn't have full equality. It's just the advantage of the first move. Okay, so like I say, might have been premature, but I got to get through this game. Knight e2. Okay, redeploying the knight toward towards the king's side, and be preparing to take back on d4 with the knight. Although that will have a tempo on the bishop, but it might cost the queen to be exchanged. Does white really want to trade queens? I don't know. Okay, so good. Black develops his rook, and white solidifies d4. And now, like I say, the exchanges have come that, generally speaking, the undeveloped side doesn't want to make. But really, black's not all that behind in development. He really isn't. And notice he still has the option of knight d5. Is he going to play it? And perhaps he should have, based on what happened. But then again, maybe not. If he plays a knight to d5, white can't undertake what he did. Okay, bishop e4. And here, white made a very perplexing move, and I know in the notes here at chess.com, Maarten was curious what I would think of this. And, well, it's interesting to say the least. I didn't expect it, but I can see the point behind it. This is a motive to give up. You're going to give up 2 minor pieces for a rook and get 2 pawns. Now, from point count chess, this is a good thing. You're giving up 6 points and getting back 7. However, and here's the big however, 2 pieces are better than a rook. Now, the fact that white has 2 pawns for it, it doesn't matter. 2 pieces are still better than the rook. Now, black is going to be faced with a position where he has 2 negative pawn majorities. One on the king side, he's down 3-2, and on the king side, he'll be down 3-2. So if I'm black, I'm happy to get the 2 pieces for the rook, and I want to play it for a win. But how do I do it? It's going to be tough, but I've got to keep maneuvering with my minor pieces and try and provoke some weaknesses in the white pawn structure so that I can win just one of them. If I win just one of them, then I've got a chance to go win another one and it's a long way off. There's a lot of chess to be played, but I think that in the long run, it's not a good idea to do this. Do what Maarten did. I don't recommend it unless you have a huge development lead, and white really doesn't have that. So, and I'll get to the point here in a minute because black missed a better defensive resource. Okay, it's at this point that here I'll show you what black played. He played rook there, but he doesn't need to do that. What he should do is just simply drop this bishop back to d5. Now this puts the question to the bishop on e6. It needs to take a rook. Which one is it going to take? Okay, probably take the one on f7, but it could take the one on c8. But the point is, if you take the one on f7, then black is able to. Oh, my, got a little lag here. Okay, black is able to take back with his bishop, and his king isn't exposed as is in the game. And now this begins the long grind. Black tries to win. Black should lose this. because white's missing a piece. White, count them up. Black has 6 heavy pieces. Okay, 4 minors, queen, and a rook, aside from his pawns. White has 5 pieces. So even though black's pieces are a little weaker, black still has an extra piece. So now it's a matter of trying to get some squares for the pieces and get them activated. The white squares look good here for black because this bishop's active. He's got some squares under control. We can maybe stick a knight in on c4, try to provoke some weaknesses on the queen side. I think black is for choice here, but it's going to be a long fight. White's still good to go, but he's going to struggle in the long run, I think. Okay, so let me find where we go in the PGN. 1 second. Don't like the way chess.com does this, but what can I do? Okay, rook c5, and now, okay, so he took on f7, and now king takes f7 and f3. Now maybe the bishop still should have gone to d5, as I pointed out, because that secures e6. Can white go there now? Let's see. If knight no, because queen takes queen, bishop takes queen, and you're out of the fork. Okay, so, but now the threat is queen e6 check. So maybe and knight e6 as well. So black has to stop and cover that. So I don't think bishop g6 was the best move, and knight d5, and just go in and give the check. Now the black king's a little looser than he was before, although he's gonna wiggle out of it. Okay, bishop g5, and attack the queen. And now this is a good move because white says, "Take my queen. I'll get your queen back, and I'll get the trade a knight for a bishop." And that's exactly what ends up happening here. Now the threat is knight e6 check again, and maybe black should run his king to g8, but here he weakens e6 for a tempo on the queen. But you see, after this move, now remember earlier when I was talking about that white bishop or light squared bishop of whites, remember? And I said how good it was, and it had that long diagonal there from g8 to a2. Well, now it's off the board. And now it's still true that black has an extra piece. He has 5, white has 4. But that bishop was a very useful piece for black because white really had no good counter for it, only a knight. Now that it's off the board, in effect, white has 2 knights, or black has 2 knights for the rook and 2 pawns. And 2 knights are good against, if they duel against a rook. They can handle a rook just fine. But the absence of, but with pawns on both sides of the board, the knights are a little slower maneuvering, and you need a longer range piece. And so it's starting to tip and turn in favor of white now, simply because black hasn't done anything to get rid of or create any weaknesses in the white pawn structure, and he's probably going to get ground out in an ending. Although it's still the game is still salvageable, but it's a tougher fight. And it's done because he gave up his bishop. That was such a useful piece. And here is black just drops a piece. He just has to take back with the knight. The knights were guarding each other, and I'll just show you the moves he took with the pawn, which drops this knight, and it's basically game over. And he's down the exchange and a couple pawns. There's really no hope. So let's go back. Let's just evaluate what's happening with... wait, went too far back. Okay, you have to take back with the knight. Now let's just try to evaluate what's happening here. White is... I don't agree with what white has done, because I was just talking about giving up, or talking about how black would have 2 knights for the rook. Now he's got a bishop and knight, and he's got that long-range piece he needed. So it's a slight concession on white's part, unless black had a threat that I've missed. White can analyze the game and figure that out and let us know. But there's a difference, though, which bishop black is left with. He's now left with his dark squared bishop, and for the moment, it's kind of, it's not really pinned, but it's tied down. Black's got to watch the tactics here. The white is centralized. Both rooks are centralized. It's obvious. The queen is penetrated. The black king is a little loose. What's black's strategy here? What's white's move? First off, but maybe try to trade queens and try your luck with an ending. The key squares in the black camp are covered. D6, D7, D8. What's white going to do here? I don't know what white would have plans for here, but you got to make some. I would want to keep the pressure on in the center here. I don't really, since this is a dark squared bishop, I might want to think about getting my pawns on white squares. Maybe C4. It's guarded by the queen. The idea is then I can play B4 and chase the rook and try and seize some space. This is a plan. So let's just try what I call fantasy chess, play a sample line. Now if I'm black, I'll go ahead and try my luck in the ending. Let's trade queens. So let's just assume white does trade queens. Okay, just one line. Now C4 is threatened, so white needs to deal with that. Since we're putting pawns on white, let's go ahead and do it. Okay, now we can move the rook and have a shot on that pawn. Where do we want to put the rook? Let's put it on C6. Now, suppose white plays A4. I mean, maybe not the best, but what else? He can't play B4. He does want to play a rook over. Now rook E6. We're going to try our luck with the minor piece ending, if white will cooperate. And I'm just checking to see what this looks like. Okay, so it's one of those rare endings. Black is centralized. He's probably okay here. If white's going to try for a win, he needs to create a pass pawn. But black still has an extra piece. So I still think black had definite drawing chances. Does he have winning chances? Possibly, simply because he's got the extra piece. But if white wants to draw, he needs to just start liquidating pawns in a hurry, even if he has to give up a pawn. If he can get rid of, let's say, the queenside pawns, chances are he'll hold a draw. But black still has winning chances. So interesting game, Maarten. I wouldn't recommend doing what you did again for the reasons I gave, but it worked out for you. I hope everyone enjoyed this. I thank you for your time. I look forward to making the rest of the videos I promised here for this thread. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.